Hello, friends, curiosity seekers, and connoisseurs of fantasy. The realm's over. You have once more arrived at After Dark. So here we are, the end of the actual play year. Our next episode, which will be the last for 2024, will be a roundtable. I hope y'all will join us for that. But it has been a time. It has been a ride. Hello, State of the State. Vale Kletos. Love seeing y'all here. I have some thoughts. I put a little bit of effort into setting up some of these visuals just because I think it's more yummy that way. Yeah, let's dive in, and then I'll have some stuff on the back end. Just had a great interview with a DM of the Mists, a Steve Morgan, insightful, lovely human. But for episode 39, so I think all of us were greatly amused by the journal entry from this person. I was going to say this human, but this person, Grip, who is doing his dragony thing. So I think I can say this. I think this is kind of the fun behind the scenes stuff that I had. Grip was originally conceived as a bit of a disruptor, to come in and kind of shake up the status quo of the Fellowship, to act as a catalyst for certain things in the best tradition. If you know the old 5-man group trope, he's kind of the Lancer. He's kind of the Lancer. He gets in there and Nalishli has some of that role too, but the Lancer is like often set as the opposite, and sometimes the rival, not so much in this case, but in some aspects of the main character, of the leader. So hey, Corey, glad you could join us too. And it's been Toby's really he's delivering on that, and it's funny because as a person, I have found Tobias to be a reflective, thoughtful person. So playing a character that's just like brash and in your face and kind of with very little filter is not necessarily a natural fit for him, but he's doing incredibly well. He's also in the arcane seat for the Chronicle. So we needed a character who had a lot more knowledge base on the deeper mysteries of will working, in his case of mana bending, since he's a sorcerer, and like that. So I'm looking forward to that. Some of those elements being reintroduced in the campaign that have kind of honestly fallen by the wayside ever since Katrin exited stage left. So those are some initial thoughts. I thought Tobias brought it. I love the fact that he's just willing to throw himself, into the role. He's definitely amped up the aggression, which I was glad to see. I try to be really careful on, putting my thumb on the scales in terms of telling somebody how to run their character, obviously, or discussing, let alone like discussing specific beats. There are, as I've made a video before about the very few exceptions that I'll make in that direction in terms of prearranging something with a player character. So I mean, the game is 95%, 98% unscripted. The very short version of kind of the few exceptions that I make are just kind of nods to the exigencies of running a streaming game, where you have about 2 hours and 2.5 hours, sometimes less, of actual play. So if there's like a really important scene that somebody's been trying to get, usually a quiet scene, it's not going to be something game changing or political, because that has to be played out. But if there's like a quiet scene that somebody's been trying to do, sometimes the player will say, hey, I'd really like to do, X, Y, or Z scene. And I'm like, sure, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that for top of even if we have to do a little flashback just to get and make sure the characters get their due and can keep developing. But that's about it. And I never tell them like, hey, you need to run the scene sort of thing. So in that context, it was just, it was really good to see Toby tap into that and kind of the whole draconic pride thing. I loved it. Now, as Havoc, I was laughing because it was actually a comment that Havoc had left on the last episode on 38 about he's looking forward to when they have the inevitable Titus and Grip have the knockdown drag out with each other when he inevitably disrespects him in public. Because this is not Merrick, and they do not have that relationship with each other. And Titus is a lot less inclined to tolerate that these days, I think. So we will see, but that will be an interesting interesting thing. I wanted to I got the picture here not only as a visual aid, but also because I wanted to kind of make some quick notes on some of the character design. So I really John just continues to kind of wow me and many of us with how he goes about designing these characters. And their embers in the back, you might notice, and so that speaks to Grip's rage. It also kind of hints at some of his, it's starting to come out on stream, lineage. And then you can kind of see where the scales are. You see there's some webbing on the hand, which again, since green dragons are the default dragons in Terra in the campaign setting, and they are equally creatures of land and water. So there you go. You have kind of the shorn green hair, which if you let grow out, can cause problems and so forth. So there we are. If y'all have any thoughts on his brawl with Marcus, we can certainly talk about that. That was interesting. That was the first time, I don't have Marcus's character queued up, but that was the first time that Marcus has really lost his temper, I believe, in the entire Chronicle. It was the first time as Game Master that I was sitting behind that screen and my ears perked up when I heard the harsh sandpaper of sarcasm out of from that character, from Marcus again, when he was just kind of pushed beyond the pale, pushed beyond the limits of his considerable patience with Grip's attitude. And I thought that was like really a striking thing. And I was wondering, like, okay, is this because we're now 2 for 2 in the last 2 episodes. We had Titus and Grip go nose to nose. In the last episode, we had Marcus and Grip again, and we will see where that leads. Speaking of Titus, so here we have a Titus, and in this one, I don't think it's giving too much away for some of the background colors, but I specifically wanted, well, first off, obviously we have Concord prominently in the shot, and because that's going to be part of win, lose, draw, survive or not. Concord obviously is going to be playing, Concord and Titus's relationship with Concord is going to be playing a central part of the rest of the campaign. So I wanted to get that, and although the actual pose, that was all John. He found a model picture. He really liked it. I thought it was an interesting way to kind of highlight the change. It's such a different energy too from his original portrait. Much more, I want to say, not assertive necessarily, but much more forward. There's a lot more motion in it, forward motion in it. As far as the background color, which is something that John has been experimenting, our art director has been experimenting on through the whole campaign, you have, of course, Titus is red, House Forn. You have the gold of him being the Bellator Sanctus, and then you have the green of Lady Vale. And I asked them to make it so that the red and the green were simultaneously colliding and also merging with one another. So hopefully she wins her duel and survives and is able to and then is able to get back, and we will see. I have not rolled it out yet. And then finally, I guess I have two more, but as far as character-wise, here is Nalishli's new art. Obviously Jade, super important to the culture. And it was interesting because you have it in an obsidian, and I liked that John found this. So it's a riff on a traditional Naginata ready stance. And he pointed out, correctly so, that in her original artwork, she has Winter's Harvest slung over, which is modeled after a real-life Naginata, which is a Japanese polearm, kind of a spear and a blade attached to it. And she has it over her shoulder, like a barbarian does. In here, this is a much more focused, precise fighter. So I liked that. I like that change. I like that approach. All of that. I thought that was really really thoughtful. So, and she's just a lot more. Yeah, I mean, it's like very focused in that. And then we just have our tree. We have our Colin fruit bush. Yay, Colin fruit bush. So does it work that way? Maybe do it that way. No, we'll keep it here. And I find myself, even though this is 2 episodes ago now, I find myself I keep coming back to this image. There's a lot to it, there's the image of and I won't retread the same ground that I did with it. It's still, though, I keep coming back to it. I guess I'm still kind of processing how everything went down on the island. The characters are thankfully, I'm sure everybody's ready for them to get home, including the characters. But there was, I mean, it's gorgeous, again, John did an incredible job conveying so much with it, the light and the fecundity of it. And the Colin fruit is the Colin fruit bush is the symbol of the Kithki people because it grows literally everywhere, but it does adapt to its environment. It has different properties in different places. So what more do we want to say about episode 39? There were so many comments. So all of the chat now is in, get this channel correct, it's live stream chat it on the Discord. So everything that we're doing now, I mean, we've been doing this for a bit, but Justin has got it so that we so that everything's captured there, which I love. Oh, Bob Ross, there you go. Yep. So that everything that we do is we have it's memorialized, and that's important. One is because I and the other players don't typically get to read the chat during the game, and then 2, so that's huge, and that's feedback. And then 2, I just that way, like you can look back and you can kind of yourself as a viewer, you can go back and you can look. It's a big deal, Corey, and see what's going on, and then see what you thought at different times, predictions you made, that kind of thing. I enjoy that personally. Like, it's fun to see how things aged, even when they didn't age well. It's still kind of like fun, like, oh wow, I really got that wrong. And then for my own personal reasons, I like not sounding so insane, because I'm not I'm responding to things as these things are recorded, but there's no chat record of it, so I'm like responding to things, and I don't necessarily always want to read out the chat messages. So any road, I'm very glad to see that. Yet more reason to join Discord. Hint, hint, if you haven't already. Let's see, are we done with 39 so quickly? Oh well. Yes, Wesa in a place, poor Wesa, being talked into a really reckless little trip, potentially to see Tecpotl, the dragon. That got disrupted. It was that whole dynamic is really interesting to see, because Grip is a very forceful character. He has, a really high charisma. Um, and Toby's playing it that way. He should be assertive. He should be a force to be reckoned with. And Wesa is kind of at low ebb right now, which is interesting because she's stronger in one sense. She's stronger than she's ever been, but in another, she is just really kind of beaten down in a way, and it's it's not an easy place. It's not an easy place to go with the character, but I think Tatiana's correct that there's no way that she would have gone through all of this unscathed. She lost her what would have been her first love, like in the natural course of things, which is a big deal, and she's riven by guilt, by woulda, coulda, shoulda, sort of, and all of that. So we have yeah, Klados. And yet I was like, okay, I guess we're just gonna go talk to Uncle Tech over here, cousin Tech. We're gonna have an experience, and it's like, well, I'm gonna have this has happened one other time where I actually had to change the title of the episode afterward because we lurched. It's been on the island since we lurched so hard in a different direction, and I'm okay with that. I mean, again, this isn't scripted, so it rolls as it rolls. I was just thinking like, well, Grip, you're probably not going to get eaten, but maybe partially, I'll say it delicately, a reckless Wesa in a reckless frame of mind just kind of wanders over there and gets used as a chew toy after she gets breathed on by death breath. So no, it's like, yeah, here's some death saves all around, guys. I'm glad that didn't happen, but I'm also kind of glad that Tobias pushed it and kind of forced the beginnings of a discussion. And it's what teenagers will do, y'all. Especially teenagers who are trying to find their place in the world. And you can, only imagine how they'd be amplified if you had draconic blood running through your veins, and you were super powered. It's pretty, like, that's pretty intense. I'm gonna see if I can add. Are we even gonna get music? We'll see. There we go. You doing the thing? Um, Anything else y'all want to run over before I go? Oh, wait, I have another one. Um, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we haven't been able to. Oh, there's the music kicking in. It's there. Uh, we haven't really been able to delve into Grip's backstory yet. I'm hoping that we can do that soon to contextualize him and start making sense of some of his behavior, some of his why he adapted that way, et cetera, et cetera. And that that will bring me joy. That will bring me joy. I don't like characters who are just edgelordy to be edgelordy. I really don't. There's love exploring pain, love exploring conflict. I'm all about personal growth and epic tales of finding yourself. But it's got to make sense, and everybody has a story. I mean, really, like everybody really does have a story. And Corey points out that that one Randy had in the works for a while. It had really bothered him that had never happened, and it was generating. It basically left an opening for conflict and even insubordination with Titus that is not good in a war story. And as Randy's do, man, he saw a need, and he is like a powerful catalyst, and decided to go that direction. And then at the same time, staked out some turf for him to be a leader as well, times and places for him to be a leader as well, which is appropriate. It's appropriate for that character. It's going to be interesting. Without giving anything away, it is perhaps unprecedented that you have both a Bellator Sanctus of Tuea. Remember, Titus is only the third, and not everybody's seeing chat. Are we not? Well, it says it's going to Twitch. All right, we will autopsy that later then. Not sure. Yeah, we're going to Twitch too. So, maybe. Oh, do you mean on? If you mean on the Discord, Corey, it may. The channel was public, so we'll have to see what the parameters of that channel are. But if somebody's added after the fact, they'll still be able to go back and look at it, which is like really the important thing for my purposes. But okay, thank you. Let me know who isn't seeing it, if you can. Sorry about that, y'all. We've worked hard to try to integrate this chat experience because we have friends on YouTube and friends on Twitch, and it's harder than one might think to get them to talk to each other. Oh, you are now? Okay, awesome. So there was an important ritual, and also there was an important understanding that you're only 3 Bellator Sancti into this kind of experiment of justice, of widening the franchise, as it were. And you've never had, perhaps, an emissary of Tuea also active in the world at the same time, specifically starting the careers at essentially the same moment. And so that's going to be a different relationship than back in the day when you had Wex, who was the first Bellator Sanctus, who really, it was just survival. It was just pure survival. There was no question about what he needed to do, even if he didn't want to do it. Jason Tenderheart, I don't think I've said this on stream, but canonically there was not an emissary at the time, which made his job incredibly hard, because he had to go through the long dark nights of the soul with only Tess as companionship. Now, Tess is a hell of a companion, but Tess was not an emissary of Tuea. So there was not another human that Jason Tenderheart could actually talk to and say, hey, what is the will of our goddess? He just kind of had to figure it out. Sometimes he got prompts through visions, etc., but it's a different situation. This is a more complicated era, though, and so both will be needed. And I think that is good. What else? I mean, you had the whole Her Serene Majesty, or sorry, God, I keep saying that, Her Marine Majesty. Woo, campaign 2. Her Marine Majesty and all of that. I think someone, it might have been Randy, said, maybe she's not interested, and she's just interested in seeing the backside of us, to paraphrase it, that, she's really not going to mess with you too much if you're leaving the island. That was again a funny exchange about Grip insulting Randy's character's goddess with making water and the purity of the water and dumping it back in and all of that. So the theology is not well defined in Terra. A lot of the metaphysics are not well defined. I know what they are, but in terms of, as far as mostly, but as far as the characters are concerned, they just learned. I mean, think about it. The only cleric in operation in the world just learned what god he was actually worshiping, like, to put it into perspective. So, less than a month ago at this point. And then, of course, we had the unfortunate jabbing of a dagger into somebody's eye or throat, into Marcus's eye or throat, in fact. So we're going to learn all about that and the ramifications of that particular decision and situation. I want to briefly, so I'm happy to bounce back to the episode if anybody else has anything else for me there. I love doing this stuff. I just want to briefly mention the interview that I did not that long ago with the DM of the Mists, Steve Morgan. He is over across the pond. He's over in England. And this is kind of continuing my journey of Curse of Strahd. I think his insights into it have been excellent. As I was telling him before we started recording, there is a special respect I have for people who are willing to put their face out there and their brains out there. And he's a fellow YouTuber doing his thing, and man, it's kind of vulnerable. Like it's you're not just hiding behind a username on some board. And then the two biggies on Reddit, I had a fabulous time interviewing Dragna Carta. But he is not, to my knowledge, a YouTuber. He is a creature of Reddit. His natural environment is Reddit. That may change in the future, of course, because he has some pretty big plans. But as it stands right now, Steve is the first YouTuber that I have interviewed, and you can get some heat on something like an intellectual property like Curse of Strahd if people don't like what you have to say about it. So that was a lot of fun. I'm looking for that we're going to be editing that one a bit and coming out with it at a time where he can participate, which is a little tricky logistically because they're so much ahead of us as far as time wise. But I think it's, Corey, you kind of set the precedent of having the interviewee being able to participate in the premiere, and I think that's a good you kind of insisted on that with Dragon, and it was the right call, and I liked that. So I think it's important. I think it's important to be able to have that person kind of see how that interview is received in real time, and then also good to have their thoughts for posterity. And I guess I'll probably will do another After Dark, even after the roundtable. So I'll hold off on like kind of my autopsy of the season. Except to say that we, well, not really an autopsy, but Justin and I have some stuff planned production side. We're gonna try to give the character sheets a facelift and still keep them readable and everything, but update everybody and get that kind of running in the info box again. I'm gonna open the seams a bit on some of the mechanical stuff too, and get that out there. You might even see what Wace's class is finally. Some of you have already found it, because it actually do have it in one kind of one spot tucked away. But I'll just put it out there for everybody to see here soon. You know how I'm about these. I don't want to just talk to hear myself talk. So trying to think if there's anything else of value that I can pass. Sydney too, producer Sydney too, because she is 100% in charge of Curse of Strahd, and we're filming that every Sunday now. We've gotten into a good rhythm. We're going to have enough to cover the hiatus, I believe, and then some. And working with her has been a delight. Different style from Justin for sure, different approach, but I love her vision, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with y'all so that you can see what that looks like. Okay, friends, I think that is it for me. Thank you so much, Klados and Corey and State of the State, and whomever else is hanging out with us. This will be in the, as I said, on the Discord channel. This will all be in the live stream chat if you want to go back and refer to anything. And otherwise, thank you so much for the time that you spent with me. I never take that for granted, and it is a precious gift. Valet.